Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us for the big match preview. Yes, a couple of days to go to the start of the Premier League season. I can tell you, very, very excited to get it started all off again. It does feel like it's only just finished a week or so ago. So delighted to welcome back to the Last Word on Spurs. Joining me, I've got the brilliant Jason McGovern. Jace, lovely to be back on. How are you?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Enjoying the garden again. The Agapanthus is going well. The Aces are fine. So we're all set. I've got my two centre-backs there, and I'm ready for the show, mate.
Fantastic, love it. And also joining us, listen, he needs no introduction, transfer reporter, presenter, journalist, Sky Sports' very own. He was down, of course, at Hotspur Way today with the main man, Antonio Conte himself. We've got the brilliant Michael Bridgie. Lovely to be back on Last Word on Spurs. How are you?
Yeah, good to see you, boys. Yeah, all good. Looking forward to Saturday.
Absolutely, Bridgie.
Bridgie's just back from a holiday, of course, in the States, where he went on holiday with the Arsenal for a week.
That's it, James. Drop him right in it.
Yeah, works, lads. Got to pay the bill.
His mate Edu and his mate Arteta and all of that. It was astonishing to watch.
Well, we're enjoying it now, most certainly, on All or Nothing, that's for sure. But guys, I want to dive in. It's been a chaotic, crazy summer for Spurs. Mike, from the inside looking in, from the outside, what have you made so far of Spurs' summer?
Yeah, great. I mean, very un-Spurs, isn't it, really? Perisic is a Conte signing. I'm very, very excited about him. He speaks well in what he said the other day about only needing a couple of hours to decide to change his, move his family from Italy to London. He, success at Inter Milan to be a Tottenham player. I think they've upgraded the goalkeeper, Spence. Basuma, I think people kind of forget that now. What a great signing that was. If that was done on deadline day, I think that there'd be a party, So, and Richarlison, I've said it countless times on Sky and everything. Conte used to turn around and say, "I've got no bench." He'll have an option now, whether it's Kulusevski, Richarlison, moving it around. He's got options. So, Lenley, I think people think the jury's out, but I think he'll be a good signing, good loan deal. So, and I don't think it's over yet. So let's wait and see. But so far, 6 in, got to be very happy.
You and me better keep chatting, mate. Oh, he's back.
He's back, yeah.
He's back.
Jace, for you, I mean, listen, we talk about pre-season for Tottenham, albeit it's not been too bad. We won 2, drawn 1, lost 1. What did you make of it overall in terms of pre-season?
Results. I'm never too fussed about. It's levels of performances, levels of fitness. I think we're probably, if I'm honest, still a little bit undercooked, but maybe that's a problem for most Premier League sides. I think ideally you'd want more than 4. It only really felt like the last 2 were proper friendlies, and you've still got to get a lot of the squad minutes in the leg. So there's still a lot of people that haven't got through 90 minutes and things like that. And so I think we are going in undercooked, but I think a lot of the clubs will be undercooked, in fairness. And it's going to be a funny old season, isn't it? So. But the signings we've made, they appear to be the ones that Conte wanted. You can argue the Spence one or not. But the rest of them, as Bridgie says, I think we've got options. Everyone's focused on an attacking midfielder, and I'm not so sure that we want one. We've always screamed, back the manager, and that appears to be what we've done. And, in regards to the 150 million, it doesn't bother me that that's not a massive hole blown in it yet. It's there if it's needed, and hopefully, the window's not shut yet. So if it brings you in that real bit of quality you want, and it happens to be the 3rd week, well, so be it. But I think to have got the number of players we've got in, and mainly the ones that Conte wants in, then you got to be happy with that as a window, and don't worry about the panic from down the road just because they've made a couple of good ones as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think focus has to be primarily on what we're doing, what we're in control of. That's all we can control. Just intrigued to know from your perspective, Mike, do you feel like Spurs are ready for the start of the season based on what they've done so far? Do you feel confident heading into it?
Look, I mean, August the 6th is a very early start date for any football club. I mean, I think Tottenham are more prepared than others. I mean, look, let's flip it round. Am I glad we're playing Chelsea next weekend? The answer is yes.
Absolutely. Yep.
I watched, obviously, firsthand Arsenal playing Chelsea in Orlando. And yes, it's pre-season. However, Thomas Tuchel was fuming afterwards. And he said, I've got half of my squad want to leave. I want more players in. That was off the back of, he just found out that he wasn't signing Jules Koundé. So he was naturally unhappy. Now you're seeing them go for Cucurella. Was he on their list a few weeks ago? So, look, with Tottenham spending, it looks like there's a real plan there, real focus. is Chelsea's a bit more scattergun? Is it Todd Bowley saying, look, I'm the owner here, I'm going to give you money? So I think Spurs are better equipped than most. I look at Leicester. I think they're in real trouble at the moment. Everton don't have a striker Saturday. So I think Spurs are pretty ready. I know Spurs have signed 6 players, and maybe one or none of new signs could even start Saturday. But let's, again, flip that round. And it might be, a familiar side that whacked Norwich 5-0. And that's a good thing. The front three was never going to change anyway. Richarlison probably would have been on the bench. Okay, that's not going to happen. Bentancur Højbjerg might have been the central middle anyway. I don't think Spence will start. It'll be Perisic or Sessegnon. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy. I think, let's be honest, it's a decent start. I think I'd have taken Southampton first game this season. I was on a Southampton podcast in the week, and they're devastated that they're going to Spurs away, but they like going to Spurs as a trip. But I think it's a decent home time. Hey, it's a Saturday at 3:00. Let's look forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, as you know...
Strange thing is, they were the best side I saw there last season.
Well, they went for it, didn't they?
Yeah. In fact, I actually think they're the best side I've seen there since Bayern Munich, because they played terrific on the night, didn't they? Just first half particularly, they just ripped us all night long, didn't they? So I know that was a one-off performance from Southampton, but they were out so brilliant performance there.
Yeah, they were. We will throw, like I say, questions in throughout. We had a whole host of over 40 plus questions for Mike, so we'll try and cover as many as we can, of course, within the hour or so. But we'll start on the injury update there from Georgia. She puts on the screen. Mike, obviously, you've been down at Hotspur Way today. Obviously, we know in terms of where we are, it's been a fresh update from Antonio Conte. Yeah. Of course, earlier in the week, we had obviously more potential blows. Yves Bissouma, slight hamstring injury. Oliver Skipp missing the first few games. Before we dive into the rest of the players, just on Oliver Skipp, I mean, I know there's obviously lots of concern at the fact that there's been a few injuries now picked up in obviously quick momentum with him. Is there a concern for you, Mike, just long-term over Skipp and injuries, or do you think we need to just keep our feet on the ground on that?
I get the point with it. People have stressed to me that he's just very unlucky. This latest injury is very unlucky. Nasty one as well. Could be about 2 to 3 weeks. It's not the same injury. So let's just hope it's not something where he's a kind of player that gets something and it recurs, or, that's the hope. But I'm told this was a complete accident. And
it's an impact injury rather than a muscle injury.
It was a training injury. It was a training injury with a player. So so he's definitely out. I saw Bissouma in the gym earlier, so he's not been ruled out though. He wasn't trained.
Check tomorrow as far as we're aware, right?
The only two who are definitely out is Richarlison, who's banned, and Skipp. That's all. Okay. Antonio mentioned Perisic. I think it was Alistair Gold who asked him about Perisic, and he said it was quite warm actually. So there's going to be a lot more to come, because he looked quite bright in his cameo against Rangers. He looked very bright against Roma. But he think I got the impression that maybe Sessegnon starts Saturday. But who knows? With the 5 subs, he might do Sessegnon for 50 and then bring Perisic on for the next 40. Who knows? You're going to see real different types of play in the second half now with the substitution, the 2 extra subs. But that's the little impressions I got team news-wise. So look, one definitely out through injury, one out through suspension as the season starts. So it could be a lot worse.
And just on the 5 sub rule, I just want to clarify in my mind. You can't make 5 separate ones, can you? Is there certain blocks, or can you make just 5 as and when you want? Because do you remember when they had it in on the back of the COVID, there was you could only use 3 blocks of substitutions or something, couldn't you? Do you remember? It was a weird formation, so that in other words, you couldn't have 10 substitutes coming on at 10 different times from both teams, because the time that would take in a game was huge. So it was like there was 3 certain blocks that you could use as a when, but that's why a lot of the times you saw 2 come on together, wasn't it?
Yeah, I have to hold my hand up. I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to look at that myself. But what I would say is the managers I've heard over the last few weeks on the tours is that I think it was Klopp, that no one's going to be moaning to him anymore because everyone is going to play. Everyone's going to get used. And, that's the difference here. That's what's going to be intriguing over the next few weeks. Yeah,
absolutely. Just on Doherty, we understand also he is also a bit of a doubt for tomorrow. I mean, out of interest, Mike, on that right-hand side, what do you make of it for you? Train today. Yeah. Train today. We'll see tomorrow. But I'm just intrigued to know what you think of that right-hand side. Emerson Royale still at the football club. Jed Spence seen as a club signing.
Well, it's brilliant. It was a brilliant question in the presser today. Very simple. Spence, Doherty, or Royal? Can you keep them all happy? And Antonio's answer was, they have to make me happy. Brilliant. They're just fantastic. And it led to quite a bit of laughter in the press conference. And it's just a great answer. Talking about, is Spence going to get thrown straight in? I'm not so sure. So I'm intrigued to see that. But yeah, it's a trial for all these three players. Let's see how good you are. From Doherty. I mean, last January they were offering him out. Then all of a sudden he came in, and we were all devastated. He got injured at Villa. It was some turnaround. And I know Emerson Royal, he's a bit 50-50 with the fans. But he did nothing wrong the last few games. So we'll see. It's a good option to have a few players. So no, I did like that reply from him. He was in a great mood all day. I really enjoyed listening to him.
How do you see personally that battle plan out, maybe with a fan hat on? I mean, because you've got three players there that are all going to want, you'd think Spence is going to want some decent game time. So is Doherty, so is Royale. Do you expect Royale and do you expect Emerson and Doherty to be happy with just being subpart potentially? Or do you think Doherty will be the main man? How do you see that playing out?
Everything I hear about Doherty is he just loves being at Tottenham. Like, him and Harry Kane have become very close friends. Him and Eric Dyer are very close. And I think it would have to take some serious, kicking him out the club, really. He really loves his time there. He loves it. And he was really upset when he thought he had to leave the club. So, look, that doesn't mean he stays. Galini was one of the funniest guys in the changing room. He was the one who used to bring a lot of the speakers in on Spotify. That won't mean anything if you play him at Bayern Munich and they let in 5 goals next season, does it? So you still want to... They're good characters. You need good players as well. But I've got to say, guys, I think that right wing-back spot is completely open. He did improve Doherty. We've got Spence now, but he's had a really good season at Forest, don't get me wrong. But this is a level and a level more. So I just sort of maybe just wait and see with Spence. That's how I see it.
And you expect all three, as far as you're concerned, Mike, to be vying for that spot as things stand? You don't expect... Is that as far as you're aware?
No, don't see. I don't. Yeah, I mean that's how Antonio saw it today. They're there to impress him. They're all in his training today. We know the players that weren't training with him, so they're part of his squad. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Got to also mention Ben Davis. We'll stick with you, Mike, and then we'll go to Jason on him. Obviously, a new contract for Ben Davis, thoroughly deserved. I've got to be honest with you, I was one of those fans that I just wasn't too sure whether he'd be able to adapt to a Conte system. But like I say, there's a running joke on here that I always say 6 out of 10 Ben, but he was 7 or 8 last season. He was superb, so consistent, deserving of the new contract. Do you think, based on obviously him and Longley together, is that going to be a battle between both, or do you think Ben will keep his spot based on that form of last season?
I reiterate about Kulusevski and Richarlison, there's no 11 anymore, guys. This is just, in the Champions League, for goodness sake. With the Europa League or Conference League, it's different. There is a first 11, and even Ben Davis said it last season. He said, when we're in the Conference League, we just felt like a B team. That's why they didn't get themselves up for it. The Champions League, if they play Forest on the Sunday, hypothetically, and Bayern Munich on the Wednesday, it could be Lenley on the Sunday and Davis on the Wednesday. We just have to wait and see. Tottenham need a very good squad now and full of talent because it is the Champions League and the league. But I think after 8 or 9 years, we've finally seen Ben Davis' best position for Tottenham. He was never a proper out-and-out left-back, but he was fantastic last season at left centre role. He's one of my best players last season with Eric Dyer. Dyer, for me, was the best. But, I mean, just very impressed with Davis. And he's a great guy to have around. So, very well-deserved new contract.
Yeah, he does have such a likable fella.
He's looked more comfortable coming out with the ball than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
As well, Ben Davis.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Will he be starting for you, Jace, ahead of Longley as far as you're concerned at the moment?
I think he will do Saturday. And then as Bridgie says, it depends on fixtures, depends on lots of things. But I don't think he'll be nailed on, guaranteed to start every game in probably the way we think Romero is. But I certainly think Ben Davis will play 30. I mean, fitness allowing, he'll play 30, 35 games this season. That's for sure.
Yeah,
and I think he'll play a lot of the big ones.
Yeah, we know obviously Ben Davis recovered from his injury, of course. He'll be back in that squad, of course, for the weekend. Japhet Tanganga, Mike, just to ask you about his current situation. We understand that he was spotted in training, as far as we're aware today. If you're there, and you can confirm that as well. But I don't know, the update from Conte and his presser, only from reading, you'll be better knowing because you were there. Do you gauge that you wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't part of the squad at the weekend? What was your feeling on Japhet Tanganga and his situation around Spurs?
It's a weird one because he's homegrown as well, and Spurs have got to watch out for this homegrown quota. What's his best position? I don't know. He's not a right back. He's not a right wing back. Is he a right centre? He's had injury problems. And obviously there's been interest from Serie A and AC Milan, Galatasaray. Bournemouth liked him. I think they still do. So that maybe a move in the last few weeks wouldn't massively surprise me.
Is that you're going to be a loan with an option to buy or an obligation to buy potentially?
Yes, loan.
I know there's been lots of people saying that potentially Spurs would put a buyer back in there. Based on what you've seen from him, Mike, do you think we'd be letting a player go there that we would incredibly regret in 2-3 years' time? Because I can't really see it personally.
No. There's talk of a potential buyback with Walker Peters, but I've not had that confirmed. But I don't hear of one on Tanganga.
Okay. I mean, Jace, you've always remained consistent on Last Word On Spurs that from his debut against Liverpool, obviously at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, never really progressed and moved on to a level where you think we'd be missing him if he left tomorrow, if you're with me.
No, I mean, in fairness to him, a lot of that is down to fitness. He's had so many injury problems. And I think with great fairness to him, he needs a run of games. Now, he's never going to get in front of Romero. He's never going to get in front of Eric Dyer. And he's not really going to get in front of Longley or Davis, is he? So he's going to play the odd game here, maybe a Carabao Cup tie, and maybe if you're at home to Fulham, maybe, and you've got Real Madrid away on a Wednesday, maybe they'd give him that. But I think a loan deal, ideally in the Premier League, where he can go and play, 25, 30 games. He can play, his body needs to play 10 or 12 Premier League games in a row to get used to the Premier League, the physicality, the intensity. So, I'd like it to be a loan with an obligation, if you like, just so that if it does, if he went somewhere and he had a really good loan, if he went to Brighton and was a player of the season or something, you'd think, Christ, wish we hadn't let him go now. Yeah. But don't forget, some of these buyout clauses, it don't necessarily always mean that the club wants to buy them back. I mean, you can put a buyout clause. I mean, like Carl Walker-Peters, for instance, that one that's muted of going to Chelsea. If Tottenham do genuinely have a clause of 30 million and Chelsea are prepared to pay 50 million to him to Southampton, then you buy him back for 30 and you sell him to Chelsea the next day for the 50 and you make 20 million pound extra profit straight away. Yeah. So, a buyback clause doesn't necessarily mean you want the player to come back. It is a way that you can manipulate the market and think, right, well, we'll have the profit on it rather than somebody else having the profit on it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Spurs really like the Palace.
Romero, look at Romero's move to Tottenham when Atalanta took him on loan for 16 million with a clause and then sold him the next day to Tottenham for 42 million.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go.
Yeah. I was saying Spurs really like Mark Gay at Crystal Palace. But he's got a deal that Chelsea can match anything that any other club put in. So these things do exist. Yep. There's loads of these because I think big clubs, more than smaller clubs, the big clubs sometimes fear, are we taking a big risk here? It's this kind of like extra blanket they put on them before letting their little chicks go, So there is that. I think with Tanganga, for me as a fan, that January was horrible. I want it erased from my brain. The two-legged Chelsea Cup semi. We weren't in it for the whole 102 minutes. It was just a vile two-legged nonsense. Hated it. And there were a couple of other games in January where Spurs clearly had a few injuries, and at the back they looked really weak. And yes, Tanganga was at fault for quite a bit of them, and he probably needed someone more experienced around him. So, look, if Spurs can have this homegrown issue sorted and everything's all right going forward, I'd probably suggest maybe a loan is good for him and an injury-free year. And let's see how we go after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, what we will just do is we'll just go for our first break of the show for our listeners that are on audio. For our watching audience on YouTube, across all of our platforms, we've got nearly 800, 900 of you watching us live. So again, thank you so much for all your support for Last Word on Spurs as we build up to the opening day of the Premier League season. Spurs taking on Southampton as we go again. A quick shout out to tonight's sponsors of the show. That's the Beavertown Corner Pin. That is the Beavertown pub, bang opposite your south stand. We are excited to get back down there. I know Jason's excited to get back down there. I think he's back down there this weekend, Jason, yeah?
Be there this weekend for sure.
He'll be there this weekend for sure.
Anyone can buy me a beer if they want. That's all right.
Giant Telly of the Garden, pre-match music. Actually, Mike, we had a question in for you from Spurs Song Sheets. You may know them. They are trying to get the atmosphere up as well as THFC flags. They want to know, Mike, what is your favourite Spurs chant at the moment? What is the one that is currently your favourite?
I'll tell you, I don't know if it's my favourite, but I'm gonna say well done to the boys, particularly the away boys, for getting the Kulusevski one going, because I remember thinking, no one's ever going to tag onto that one. That's going to be just saying on Twitter. But they have done it, and well done, you boys. So, yeah, you can buy me a beer on Saturday as well, anyone who sees me.
There'll be a queue now, hanging outside, waiting there after that. We must say, Beavertown, exactly. Beavertown, they are celebrating their 10th birthday in Tottenham Hale after the game on Saturday, and they're offering you lovely lot of Last Word On Spurs, an exclusive offer of 30% off tickets. All beer is included. Let me say that again. All beer is included in the price of your ticket. Plus, there'll be DJs, banging food, and a goodie bag involved. I can see Jason went around for the goodie bag. Just head over to beavertownbrewery.co.uk. Click birthday tickets on the homepage and add the code LWOS30 at checkout. You can check all of that in the YouTube description below. I can see Bridgie can't wait to get down there now. Look at that face. So excited. I do want to ask you, Mike, of course, about the press conference. Obviously, you were there earlier today. Just the real standouts from it. I think one of the things that have come up, of course, is how Conte perceived Spurs' transfer window, and he says that we're doing things with a common sense approach. That's the only way you can really improve the football club. Mm-hmm. It does feel that, Mike, that around Spurs right now, there's a logical approach to the window. I know everybody at the moment seems to be questioning and comparing how many of those signings are actually going to get in and improve the first 11. But I think one thing we can all see is that, we have bought, players that are ready for the Premier League. Yves Bissouma's played there. Richarlison's played in the Premier League. Forster as a backup is in the Premier League. Jed Spence, a young English player with such potential. Perisic, a guy that's won wherever he's been, serial winning player. What have you made, Mike, of that questioning over some of the players and whether they can actually improve the first 11?
Well, I've made no secret over the year how highly I rate Antonio Conte as a coach. So if he put a tortoise left centre back, I wouldn't really care. I'd just say, well, it's down to Antonio Conte. I rate him that highly. The way the club is run now, from a year ago when we talk about Harry Kane potentially off and all that nonsense, and we have the greatest will in the world, a manager that should never have been appointed. I thought the club was going back mid-table. I couldn't believe what was going on. I was really flat. Wasn't looking forward to the season at all. Then I'm fortunate enough to be in a press conference today and having the pleasure of listening to a genuine world-class manager. Someone said to me the other day, the top three will probably be the best three managers in the world. We'll finish the top three in the Premier League, which I thought was a really good point. But he made a great point, Conte, and I don't want to keep making this transfer focus as well, because he pointed out that don't forget Klopp and Guardiola have been at their clubs for 6-7 years now. This is his first pre-season with Tottenham. And let's remember how much he stresses that him as a person with all his coaches need a pre-season. He didn't really want to... He wanted to join Tottenham, but he didn't want to join in November. And you could sense that sometimes. And he said he had to change tack sometimes in his press conference. He had to be more aggressive, a bit more threatening. I don't know if this is for me, blah, blah, blah. But today he was a joy to listen to. And Ian Abrahams from Talk Sport said to him about what's a good season. Is it fourth? Is it fourth in a trophy? Is it a trophy? And he interrupts him and says, what about the league? What about the Champions League? There you go. Because Antonio Conte is a serial winner. He wins things wherever he goes. And it was just to listen to that fantastic positivity, because a year ago it was all, I just felt everything was so negative. And I know we won the first 3 games last year, but
you was on here, Bridgie, very early, and you said there's just something about this that
not this, yeah. And
I'm not convinced yet. I'm not convinced. I'm not getting excited.
I'm lucky on social media. I don't get nasty comments or anything, but I remember a few saying, "You are Victor Melger, oh, you miserable git," and all that, because there was something not right, and it proved the case. Palace away, what on earth was that team? Arsenal away. When Carragher said there's more space on the moon in that midfield than, it just, I knew it. There was something boiling that weren't right. Then we didn't have a shot on target for 14 years. So now it's looking forward to Saturday. And I'm seeing people saying, I can't wait. I'm going to get to the ground early. It's brilliant. That's what it's all about, you know? And so, yeah, it's all positive. He was positive today. And he said, our target isn't about the top two. It's about, he wants to close the gap. He wants to make them better. He said, don't forget, we finished the season at Norwich with 13 players. So, yeah, and he's right. You know, you forget that we were down to the bare bones, weren't we? I remember going off to Arsenal and Romero weren't playing. I was like, I can't believe this. But we got over the line in the end, didn't we? And it's easy to forget that we just scraped fourth, and thank goodness we did.
Would you make that question on the statement on the screen there from Peter? He said, heard the press conference. Seems Conte doesn't trust the club to continue back him. He's wary. Did you gauge that approach from him at all, Michael, that press conference?
I mean, if you look at it, look, I mean, let's get it right. Let's get his words right for the club. He says, I need to stay well in the club. He talks about clubs in general. I like always the honesty. If you tell me one thing, then you have to respect this. So he's implying that the clubs he's been at in the past, they've told him one thing and then something else changes. He says, if you tell me a good lie, you don't have a lot of luck with me. I hate lying and I hate liars. So he's clearly had problems before with clubs that, I don't know. Look, Inter Milan all of a sudden had money problems and they just won the league and he was being told to sell half of his squad. Yeah. So that he might be alluding to that. Everyone was saying, oh, Daniel Levy and Antonio Conte, it's never going to work, never going to work, never going to work. I'm going by what I saw today. He walked in, shook everyone's hand, left happy. And I think he didn't like the fact that someone did mention, you're not a long-term manager. Well, I think when he was out in Israel or Korea, he mentioned that I could be here for a long time. And also Antonio Conte, there has to come a time where he does settle at a club. Because it doesn't look good on him to keep walking out of places as good as he is. Now, if that's Tottenham, then I think we're all in for a great few years. I hate the word project. Yes, other clubs are building something when they've got younger players. Son's, 29, 30? Kane's 29. We want now. Great. And talking about long term and everything like that. I know Gary Neville wasn't keen on Conte. And I know Jamie Carragher disagreed with him on that. He's not the right fit. Project, how long does a manager want anymore? Even 2.5 years is deemed quite long now, you know? So let's just focus on the now, focus on what we've got. And that is probably one of the best, no, not probably, one of the best managers in the world. Yeah, I mean, do you get the feeling, Jace, that this is more of a longer-term strategy from Conte from what's coming out from him personally? Or do you have to say, based on the CV, what we have seen in the past, it's difficult to say at this stage?
I think a lot of his words pre-season, I haven't seen the press conferences today, I must admit, but I was too busy watching people closing their eyes and rubbing their hands together and then passing energy on. And for those who've been watching today, they'll know what I mean. But
All or Nothing episode 2, wasn't
it? Bring the speakers. I think he seems a lot calmer. Maybe that's because, pre-season's had a chance to genuinely mould it pre-season as he wants it. And as Bridgie says, when you come in the middle of the season, I think even Mourinho said that, didn't he? Even Mourinho traditionally liked to work and go in with a clean slate at the end of a season. So you've got a say on players coming in and things. So I just think he seems a lot happier. And in a strange way, I think the 202 days documentary on Spurs play, which is an excellent watch for those who haven't seen it yet. As I said, that emotional press conference at Burnley that he gave, when he looks back on that, you suddenly realise, I think that was the shock factor, the impact factor, but there was no chance of him walking away the following morning, which the media and everyone was all thinking, oh, he's going to walk. And yet I think that night was the night he really thought, right, it's time to get my teeth into this. Yeah. So, sometimes what they say and that isn't always the thinking. There's hidden messages in there. There's messages for this, there's messages for that. But I get the impression he seems really, really comfortable and looking forward to it. And I think, like the comment we had on the bottom, I think he feels that we can do a little bit more than perhaps one or two others do. Now, whether we do that is entirely different, but I think he he feels he's in a good place. That's for sure.
He said today, I said I want to build something important with the club because I like to win. I said I would be very important to match these two situations to bring the club to fight for something important every season. He said from the first I arrived at Tottenham, I was really happy because I found a club, a modern club with a great stadium, a fantastic training ground, everything a coach aspires to find when you sign a contract. My question here from Jason G. Hill, not this Jason. He says, when is Conte going to sign a new deal? I think it's really important. He would like to see him sign a 5-year deal until 2027. I mean, we know there's the option, isn't there? I think in his contract to and then extend it by a further 12 months. I mean, from what you hear, do you think that's going to be imminent, or do you think Conte just likes to work this way? Because it does appear that he would rather just work rather than be reliant on a contract. That's something that kind of screams out from him personally.
I've heard nothing on him signing anything soon. I've heard nothing on that, and I don't think anyone else has. If I'm honest, if they have, then they've not disclosed it, because I don't think that's Antonio Conte, who we know. I think let's just wait. Let's see how the next few months go. But let's work on the now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very happy, and he was on. If anyone, I'm sure it's on YouTube now. The presser, and he was. Yeah. It was. You know, you could tell by his body language. He's really looking forward to it. He's raring to go. And let's not forget what we or fans think, what we need. Let's trust what we've got here. If he doesn't think a certain player is right for him, I think he's earned the right for us to say, no problem, boss. We'll let you get on with it. Because to be fair, a lot of people before was like, well, he's saying yes to 2 Juventus rejects. They probably got Tottenham over the line to get the top 4, didn't they? You know, so just Lenley, people are doubting him. Could turn out to be a Tottenham fans might absolutely love him. You know, let Conte wants these players. If Conte says yes, then great. And then people ride, he didn't want Spence. No, it's not that at all. It's that Tottenham, he's aware that Tottenham need to get better youngsters, sort the homegrown out. This is the kind of model. He's a right wing back. I think you can mould him. Yeah, get him. Sounds good. That's the difference. It's not, I don't want this player. There's a difference there. So it's all positive. They're all working really well together.
Yeah. What was your feeling, Mike, around, this suggestion, trying to reduce that gap between Liverpool and City? I mean, the feeling you got from Conte, does he believe that's a genuine ambition for this season? Or is it kind of just seeing how the season plays out? I don't know if you agree, there seems to be this hysteria around Spurs at the moment, and as fans, you can quite easily fall into this concept where, there's a genuine belief because Conte's in charge. He seems to have been back very early with 6 signings before we've started the season. Can Tottenham gate crash and really compete for the league? What's your feeling on that based on what you feel Conte was like today?
Well, as I said earlier, he did reiterate that Klopp and Guardiola have had 7 years to get their squads how they see it. With, Guardiola's had a lot of money to spend, and as has Klopp, but Klopp's recruited very well. But I just get the feeling he's confident this year, and he didn't say as much that, I think we should just... But he's just talking about Spurs. He wants better performances. He wants more points. And I think his message is, let's see where we end up with what he's targeting from Tottenham. It's like anything, isn't it, boys? If we win our league games, it doesn't really matter what everyone else does because we're going to be up there. We have to just... we don't want to be in that situation where we lost to Brighton that lunchtime and then we're like, it's not so bad because Arsenal lost to Southampton. It's still a horrible feeling. Let us do the winning and ultimately we'll have success. And that's how I see Antonio Conte today.
What do you think for you, Jace, as a fan looking in? I mean, what's your kind of expectations for the season? Do you think we can generally be up there challenging, or do you think it's just far too early? I mean, you talk about sides in Liverpool and City that are consistently hitting 90 points. Spurs are, as Conte says, at the start of a project. How many months are we in now? We're less than 12 months in, really, aren't we, at the moment?
I don't see us getting 90 odd points. If I'm perfectly honest, I think that's a hell of a thing. Our record is 86, so to suddenly get to 93, 94, I think would be incredibly difficult. But I think I think there'd be a little bit of hope that the other clubs, a better Man United, a better Arsenal, maybe a Newcastle being better, that perhaps Manchester City and Liverpool get into the late 80s rather than the 90s. Perhaps they finish with 88 points or something. And I think he looks at it and he thinks, can Tottenham get 12 points more, 12, 13 points more than they did last season, which if you look at the Nuno and the up and down nature, could Tottenham get to 83, 84? Yes, they could. And so if we got to 84 and the league's won with 88, then we've been in the mix, haven't we? because on match day 37, you can still win the league. In that case, mathematically, you're in the mix. So I think you can get in the mix, but I think you will need those other two to come back to you a little bit, because I don't see us getting into the 90s, that's for sure. No. And I think, if I said to you now, would you take 84, 85 points, as would that be progress on a season, even if that meant we finished fourth with 85 points rather than fourth with 72? You'd have to say 85 points would be a pretty decent mark to hit. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Mark, I've had a couple of questions in here. I mean, like I say, we're not going to focus them all around transfers, but Jacob at JAKOOBR says, do we need more game changers, signings, or do we have the squad now, in your opinion, that's going to really be able to fight for something special this season?
I think we need a couple more additions. Yeah, I mean, Conte said that himself. He didn't rule out more transfers. I mean, at the end of the day, what was his word? We're trying to do things with common sense. I know this is the only way that improve the club. It's not simple. It isn't simple. Signings aren't simple. We're seeing clubs now making panicky decisions, scattergun decisions. So as I said before, we've brought in players. We've signed Richarlison, and then someone said to me the day they signed him, well, where's he going to play? It just astounds me. It's like that someone's not happy, and they've just, strengthening the bench.
How often do we strengthen an area of strength? It doesn't really happen.
We always moan that we've got nothing to bring off the bench.
Yeah.
Look, hypothetically, Forest in a few weeks, they bring Richarlison on and gets a hat-trick. Because he's good. He's got very good stats in Everton's side that should have got relegated. They only didn't get relegated because Newcastle weakened Burnley when they sold Chris Wood, and Norwich and Watford were terrible. Everton were awful, and I think he still got 10 goals. So Spurs are doing the right things, and if he seemed genuinely calm, and we've all seen him angry.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, and look, it's not just Tottenham, guys. Chelsea, right? When I was in Orlando last week, the players coming out the mix zone. Have you ever seen that video of Ian Wright when he sees his teacher and he thought his teacher was dead? Right? When Chelsea players coming out the changing room, I was like, Ross Barkley, completely forgot about him. That's why. Forgot about him and all. So if Chelsea have got things to do, Arsenal have got a load of players to sell. United have got players to sell. We've got players to sell. So it's still a few weeks to go, and it could all change again. We're looking at the Udinese boy, left back. Conte said, he's brilliant. Paratici he's brilliant. So maybe, if Tottenham can get him over the line, they're going to beat some serious clubs to his signature. So there's no scattergun with Tottenham. They're thinking ahead. So I've been very happy with what's happened so far. And some players, and Conte was very honest, wasn't he, with some players? They're never going to make it here. Reguilon's a tough one, Reguilon used to frustrate him dearly, So again, I don't mean to keep saying this, but I mean, I just trust Conte and whatever he wants. As long as there's an agreement between him, Paratici, and Levy, then we'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, out of interest, Mike, I've seen he brought up in his presser today Reguilon, Lo Celso, and Ndombele, Harry Winks, those four. The fact that obviously he's saying that these guys, it's a World Cup year, they're going to want game time. They're not going to get that game time at Tottenham. Do you expect momentum to come in the next few weeks where you'll see these guys get a move? Because it can't be good for the guys or even the squad to have players around that aren't really going to feature.
It's tough today, won't lie. I did the live training hit for Sky, like the first 2 minutes, then we watched the training, and obviously they weren't part of it. And you could see them on the edge at the end, were like watching a little bit, and then they went off to do their individual training. And I don't care what they're paid. Like, I looked at Harry Winks, and I don't care. It must hurt.
It must be gutting. He's a Spurs boy, right? Spurs boy.
Yeah, unless everyone goes, well, they're paid enough. Well, yeah, what? The money doesn't make everything. Because and I genuinely felt for him a little bit, because it just looked like running off with a coach. And I know Spurs will handle him well, but people like Ndombele, I don't feel as sorry for. But I look at Winks, who probably has been here a bit too long, a year too long, maybe. Reguilon's a bit of a surprise, but we've got him and Session. Session's homegrown, he's not. But I don't know what they're doing with Reguilon, because I was always told that Seville were going to come in for him, but they've just signed Telles on loan from Man U. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. So this is the thing, that these are players on biggish wages. So they need to get them out as well. So, and Antonio mentions World Cup, because it was actually my question, because I said, if you can't sell these players, with it being a World Cup year, with all the fixtures, Carabao Cup and everything, and all these midweek games condensed, will you consider getting them back in the squad? But he flipped it, said, well, it is a World Cup year and they want to play for their national teams. They probably won't get that time here, so we need to find them another club.
How do you see that plan out, Jace, for you? Do you think we'll just have to take significant losses on the likes of Ndombele, Lo Celso, or do you think there will be would you think it'll be loans? I mean, you've said your piece on Lo Celso and Ndombele previously.
I can't see any club in the world wanting Ndombele. I can't see it.
There'll be one. There's always one.
Well, if they do want him, it will be a loan with about 5% of his wages and no obligation to buy and things like that. I'd be astounded. I think Gio and Reguilon will end up in Spain somewhere along the line. But I think some of those loan deals, they kind of move, don't they? Particularly over the last few days of the window, where people look at that squad and think, we have still got a gap there. We have still got a gap there. This player, we've tried to sign this player now for the last 3 weeks. His club aren't doing it. Let's bring the player in on loan. So I think, and I'm sure Winks will get a move somewhere.
Yeah.
As time goes on. I mean, if Leicester were to sell Tielemans and to sell Maddison, they might well need to, it could well be a last minute deal. They think, well, we've got to bring somebody in. So those types of things can happen.
Yeah.
Like I say, with Tongi, I think that's a really strange one. I can't see a club genuinely thinking he's the man for us. So, it'll be a case of whatever we can get for him. And we may well have to take a loan, and it will be with no one's going to pay 200 grand a week for him, are they? Let's be honest, and cover those wages. So can you see anyone even giving us 100 grand a week in wages for him? Can you see 80 grand a week in wages for him? Only Premier Leagues have got that, aren't they? So, you're talking about a minuscule payment, but sometimes it's just better to, even if we had to take it where we pay the wages and there's no loan fee, at least he's away from the premises. And I think from him, if I'm honest, he needs it, because he must be incredibly depressed coming to work in an environment where he knows he's not going to play, and to sit there as a human being and think, I've got to put up with this for another 3 years. His closest compatriots, if you like, have left the club. It must be incredibly difficult for him. And, he must be past that mental thing of we all want to get up and look forward to going to work, don't we? Let's be honest. We have to. And he must absolutely dread going in there every day. And that lack of enthusiasm, lack of energy, you can see Conte wouldn't want that anywhere near the group. And I'm not even a fan of saying go and train with the under 18s or the under 23s, because I don't think those youth coaches would want that.
It's a shame. I mean, agencies there, and Dominic created the situation.
Absolutely.
Listen, it's a difficult one. It's a real hard one, because I think everyone sees his talent, but if you're not willing to put the application in, it is tricky. I mean, just on Ndombele, Mike, we've said about the fact Spurs, in terms of what they may be looking for, 1 or 2. For me personally, I've said that if we don't sign a creative attacking midfielder of that nature, I do worry for us in those games like the Nottingham Forests, the Fulhams, the Brentfords, the Evertons, where it's 0-0 after 70 minutes. How are you going to break down a team that's got 10 behind the ball and a low block? Do you share those concerns, Mike, as well? Are you concerned that, are we missing that kind of player to bring off the bench? Dare I say Maddison off the bench, but a Zaniolo, someone of that nature that's going to really be able to play that eye of the needle ball, split defences open when we haven't really got that from the bench. Richarlison, again, is a good forward that can cover the line, but he's not that nature of a player that can be a lock picker like an Eriksen was.
I personally do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, I saw it again. I know it's a pre-season friendly. I saw it against Roma on Saturday a little bit. I don't think Spurs are in for Maddison, to be honest with you. Zaniolo, again, if Conte wants him, fine. But obviously, I'm a bit concerned I take away journalism as a fan. I'm a bit concerned about his injury record. Obviously, a very good player. But Ndombele, it's funny. Someone said to me at work the other day, I talked about what kind of midfielder I'd like to see in the club. And the guy said to me,
It's him.
It's him. You're describing him.
It's him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's mad. Really.
That's the annoyance.
Insane.
That's what kills me here. Someone who can pass, run with the ball, see something which other people don't see, exciting, through ball, and can score.
It's him.
Bang.
It's him.
Yeah. Because I think,
And if it's not him, it's Gio from Betis.
Yes.
It's nuts, isn't it? We got 2 of them.
And Jurgen Klopp I think in the semi-final of the Champions League, applauded something that Lo Celso did. I mean, it's so frustrating because I remember being so happy when these players joined. You know, it's really disappointing. I'm really, really, really disappointed with both of them. I really am. But neither for me lack enough application to stay at the club. So I'm not going to start going down the line of
yeah.
You know, and I was just like, there were times where Celso would be missing one game, then I'd see him on Instagram an hour later off to Argentina. I was like, really? But that's the fan in me, you know. But end on Bella, I mean, it's tragedy, really, isn't it? You know,
it's just a shame.
If you know that guy with the ability, but never going to happen at Tottenham.
Yeah, absolutely. What we'll just do is we'll just go for our final break of the show for our listeners on audio. For our watchers on YouTube, nearly over 1,000 of you plus watching us live across all our platforms. Again, thank you so much for all your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. We're back, like I say, post-match analysis. Southampton.
Those 1,000 like watching the cricket, for God's sake.
They're football mad. They're Spurs mad. They're Spurs mad. They're football mad. They're all excited for what's coming in the weekend. And that brings us to Southampton, of course, Saturday. Now, interestingly, the Saints team does look fairly similar than what we saw last season. They've unfortunately lost Armando Broja, who has returned to Chelsea after a season on loan. They've brought a number of young players in, including Bazamou, the Man City goalkeeper, for 12 million. Mara from Bordeaux for 11.7 million. Lavia also from City for 11 million. Kochap from Bochum for 9 million. And I think Joe Aribo obviously made that move from Rangers for just a fee of around 6 million. What have you made, Jay? Let's come to you. What have you made of Southampton's summer business at the moment?
Well, Aribo is an interesting one because Southampton have shown they can go shopping in Scotland with the likes of Van Dijk and Wanyama, and did Armstrong come down from Scotland? Didn't he come from Celtic as well? Was he at Celtic, Armstrong? Stuart Armstrong? I think he was.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So they've shown a willingness to go up to Scotland and buy some players, and they've had good success with it. So, and Aribo, I think, was a big part of Rangers getting to that Europa League final, wasn't he?
Scored.
But, you know, the other lads, to be honest, as you're reading them out, Rick, I've never seen any of them play. So I'll do like most people do and scout them on Football Manager or something. And if they've got a rating of 174, I'll be worried or something. But
that's fine. Great game. Lads. I mean, you got to pray for me tomorrow. I want some prayers in now, right? So I'm back on the transfer show tomorrow. Yeah. And obviously, Forest are looking at striker Giz Hornkamp.
Oh my God.
I'm just hoping it's not a release clause.
Oh, can you imagine?
I tell you what, I'm glad Crackers isn't here with his cheese grater. That's for sure.
Could you imagine Crackers on this show with that? I tell you, he's watching somewhere. I'll tell you.
You gotta laugh.
Southampton they finished 15th in the previous season. I mean, you look at Hasenhüttl in general. He spent 3.5 years there so far. I mean, they've been declining in their points haul in each of the full seasons. They've had 52, 43, 40. What do you make of Southampton as a side? Generally, we got 1 point out of them last season, out of a possible 6.
Yeah, we should have won up there, though, down there. It was frustrating.
Yeah. Well, we had 70 minutes plus 10 men we faced, couldn't break them down.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a Southampton pod in the week, and I have to be honest with you, I'm actually a bit worried about them this year. I'm not sure how much they've actually progressed. But I like Ralph Hasenhüttl. He's always a joy to listen to. As it stands, they've obviously kept some key players in Ward-Prowse. But as I say, it's a good opening game for us. You know, let's get an opening win. But again, if I think Southampton might struggle. There's a few teams who I don't think have strengthened enough. Have Fulham done enough? Probably not. Bournemouth definitely haven't done enough. And Scott Parker today said they're weaker now than they were in the Championship last season. So I'm not sure about Leeds this season. So
Brentford.
Yeah. Do you know what? If people forget Brentford were in free fall before Ericsson played. You know, they were I think lost 8 league games in a row. Then Ericsson came in, I think the week after they beat Chelsea 4-1. And you know, that's another thing. Man United fans, I keep telling them they're gonna be very lucky they've got Ericsson. He's gonna be brilliant for them.
He's gonna be superb. Yeah, he's going to be really good.
Sorry, I'm diverting. I'm going back on Southampton. I only see sort of about 13th to 16th possibly.
I mean, Jace, your thoughts on them very quickly. Listen, in general, you know, they've won. Go on.
They're a strange side, aren't they, Southampton? There's times when you see them, like I say, when they came to Tottenham, they were absolutely extraordinary last year.
Oh, they deserved the 3 points at our place. You can't argue that.
They had a little period like that. I think they went to Man United the week later. They might have only drawn at Man United, but they outplayed Man United. And Ralph, I think, from outside of Southampton, I think most people do look at Ralph and think really good manager. And yet they can go on some dreadful runs, Southampton, and they can have those reoccurring 9-0 losses and things like that. You're not surprised if it comes up and they've lost 5 or 6-0, and yet you're not surprised if they go to Liverpool and win or something. You don't. But they, rather than being up one week and down the next, they seem to go on a run of 6 or 7 games really good, and then they just completely drop off for 6 or 7 games and they look horrendous. So I don't really know what to expect from them, to be honest. It's a tough one, sir. I don't think they'll play as well as they did last season, that's for sure.
Here come the jokes coming through. I won't ask Mike to repeat them for his own sake. He's got to do enough of them on tomorrow morning on Sky Live. So going into the game, Spurs, from their perspective, they go in having won 6 of their previous 7 home games. Southampton, they didn't have a particularly good pre-season, winning just 1 out of their 5 games played. Hasn't it all side in general to even compare Southampton even more? Just 3 out of their last 20 away games they've won against Tottenham. So if Anthony Costa was here, you know what Ant would say when it comes to, please don't read that out. Don't read that out. Rick, don't read that out. Yeah, he hates it.
I tell you what, my phone stopped now. He's ringing me all the time about transfers. He must be genuinely busy now. He's actually got work because I've not heard from him.
They've made 6 signings, Mike. This is the problem now. They've done their business too early. We've gone too early.
Great. Yeah. Good luck to him.
How do you see us set up at the weekend, Bridgie? We're going to close it. How do you see Spurs set up the weekend? What kind of team are you expecting?
Lloris in goal, Romero, Dyer, Davis, Doherty, Sessegnon, Benton Kerr, Højbjerg, Kulu, Kane-Son.
Okay, interesting. Jace, would you change any of that for you?
I think
maybe swap Longley for Davis, or do you think Davis?
My gut feeling. I mean, I haven't had the advantage that Bridges had of being over there today. If you'd have said to me at 9 o'clock this morning, I thought Perisic might start and then would go off. Play 60, 65, 70 minutes, and Cess would come on a bit like they did in Israel at the weekend. But other than that, I think the other 10 are as Bridges says, as long as Davis is 100% fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what's key. I mean, for Saints, Hassan confirmed that long-term absence. I think Tino Livramento will not return. He's suffering from an ACL injury at the moment. Walcott, I think he's not expected to have any involvement against of course, Spurs. That's all we need coming back.
Walcott,
yeah, he's still there. Still there at Saints. He's still hovering around there. Yeah, so, I mean, I'd say, listen, we hope we're going to start well. I mean, Mike, let's come round here to close it. Let's get predictions. What are you going to go for weekend?
3-1, Tottenham.
Okay, decent. Jace, what are you going to go for?
Yeah, I'll go the same, I think. We've conceded in most of those pre-season, or in all the pre-season games, haven't we? So, No, actually, I might go for a clean sheet. I'll go 2-0.
I was going to say 3-0. I think we will start well. I think we will start firm. And you always know there's that opening day surprise. And the Kula famous last words, I don't expect it to be Tottenham. I do expect us to get the job done, even though we struggled at home last season. I have to ask you guys, go on, Bridgie, want to come in there?
So 2 for Che Adams, 1 for Ward Prowse, yeah?
Yeah, no, don't get the free kick go around the box.
That is, of course, the one thing that we can't do is give away stupid set pieces around our box.
Yeah,
For God's sake, don't do that.
No. And just generally to close it, guys, I mean, season expectations. I have to ask that question. Mike, maybe with the fan hat on, what do you hope for this season?
I've never looked forward to a season so much since I was a child. I just think we've got the best manager we've had in a long, long, long time. I know how much Poch did for the club, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think Conte's just even another level. He's just amazing. That turnaround from last season spared the ridicule of any North London banter. He's phenomenal. I mean, we're lucky to have him, but he's lucky to have us as well. You look at our stadium. It was great to be back in the training ground today. We're a monster club as well. So it's a good fit. So I'm looking forward to the season. It's time to win a trophy now. It really is time. I think with the World Cup coming up, and I look at Liverpool, they've got great. I still think they're a little bit short going forward. Yeah. City, obviously sold Jesus. Give me a Carabao Cup. I don't care what domestic cup it is.
We need We do need to win something. You feel as a club, we have to get something over the line.
And this could be because look, these cups, everyone can mock you, but these cups aren't easy to win. When Pep plays De Bruyne in the League Cup third round, he loves them too, so they're not as easy, people. Oh, you win a trophy. Yes, that easy. Just go and win one, because West Ham haven't won one for about 40 years, have they? Newcastle have not won really any, it's as if Spurs should be winning things every year,
Exactly. How many have Man United won in the last 10 years?
You've got Guardiola and Klopp respecting our domestic competitions now. So it's not like a click of the finger, let's go and win something. Yes, we've made mistakes in semis and finals, but let's, Anyway, sorry, digress. I'll take 4th and a cup. Wonderful season. It'd be my dream.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I want us to keep cementing Champions League. Listen, it'd be lovely for a title push, but I think we have to win that trophy. We have to get that monkey off our back. Jace, where are you in terms of what the expectations are for the season?
North of 80 points. I think we should get north of 80 points. And if that happens to be 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, whatever, I think if you get north of 80 points, you've improved 10 or 12 points on last year. I think you take that in the league. And like Bridgie says, I think it's time to end that trophy doubt and stop all the sniping and all the abuse of Kane online. I mean, to see he's one of the most abused players.
Yeah, that is a real
things like that. And you think, Jesus, and it's constantly, England women have won the world or the Euros. That's more than Kane's won, and the disrespect that he gets shown because we don't win that trophy. But I think it's, if you look at all the trophies won since 2000, look how many are Manchester City, Chelsea, Manchester City, and last year's finals, 2 domestic cup finals, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City win the league, and Liverpool are in the Champions League finals. So, those clubs hoover them up, and lots of Arsenal fans will be yapping, but they haven't won the league for 18 years. Yeah, they won those cups, but it's 3 years since they've won one, and they're full of it. So it just shows it's not that easy to do. And I think with a trophy, we will have to beat Chelsea. We have to get that mental block, and it will be Chelsea in a semi or Chelsea in a final that we have to get past that hurdle.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Bridgie, finally, where can people find the wonderful work you do on Spurs, on the Premier League?
In Orlando, with America, with the Arsenal. That's where they can find him.
Yeah. I'll be back on 9 a.m. tomorrow on transfers. And I'm at the game Saturday as a fan. So if you see me, come say hello. And
don't mention them down the road.
Don't mention me to Darmesh in the morning either. He's not my mate.
The job's my job. The amount of people have DM'd me are like, what are you doing? What are you doing out there for? My job.
And he's bloody good at it as well. Right, listen, from the wonderful Jason McGovern, from the wonderful Michael Bridge. Guys, we're back with you on Saturday evening for post-match analysis for Tottenham Hotspur's opening Premier League game against Southampton. From Jace, from Bridgie, from myself. Guys, please keep safe, keep well, and as always,